can recommend on this. Otherwise, this thing is pretty much idiot proof. Even I can use this thing and not mess it up.
Prison in Salvador, stuck between the bars, strong hands gone, but you can never go back, struggling to survive, and you're still alive. Laying out the bricks now, as if you need a wall, stop it, fall. Your bones are not even broken yet, so put yourself through without your regret. Take a quick look inside your regrets. Consumables.
What's up, guys? How are you doing? Chris with Croft CNC here, coming at you on this beautiful blistering morning. We got a lot of stuff on our plate here. We've got business signs going. We've got furniture going. We got machine builds going. All kinds of good stuff. So, with that being said, you know, we typically will do a project, and we find that the project costs more than what we allotted for, because a lot of times we don't take into account the consumables for that machine, that particular build, and stuff like that. And by the time it's said and done, your budget's blown. You're twice the setup that you thought you were going to be in. You started running the machine and it falls flat on its face. You were going to make $1 million with it, and now it's costing you money. And I run into that a lot with people. Hell, I run into it a lot with myself. Right now, for example, I've got 3 major builds going on for CNC machines. We've got a X-Carve retrofit, where we're actually retrofitting the X-Carve with new corner plates, new side plates. We're putting linear bearings on it, and we're putting rack and pinion on it. We're getting rid of the belts and wheels. And at this point, pretty much there's nothing left of the original X-Carve. Gecko controller, stuff like that. But what I found is, for the price that I put into this, I could have gotten a CNC machine that was of much better quality to start with for a much cheaper price. But, as I say, it's all about the journey for me. It's all about having the stories and having the knowledge of doing what I do. So when you're doing this stuff, when you're looking at machines, you have to really look at the small costs to build the machine and upkeep the machine. First and foremost, a lot of these machines don't have their own tables, and people get gung-ho, buy the machine, and then realize, oh shit, I got to have a table for it. And they don't have a table, so they end up making a makeshift table, and it's done half-assed at best, and the machine wobbles and everything, and it's just not a good situation for them. You know, the 3D printers, routers, and lasers are a prime example of that. My tables cost me anywhere between $100 and $500 whenever I build them, depending on how big and what materials. You know, I try to put a outlet right there on the table, or a strip plug, so that you can plug multiple pieces in. I try and make the table big enough to house the machine and the computer. You know, so you have a bunch of different aspects to think about that table. On top of that, you got to think about the actual table build, like the truss system that you put under it to support it. I like to use my CNCs to make the table trusses, and I usually use long stringers in the longitudinal plane, and then I use small stringers that interlock with them, so they slide in. They scissor together, but they basically slot into each other and stabilize each other. And the reason why I like doing that is A, because it looks cool whenever it's done, B, it makes a nice strong platform, and C, you know, because I can. And then I tie my legs into both of those systems, top and bottom. So I'll actually put stringers across and put the legs up against them and screw the stringer right to the leg. And then I'll put my surface right on top of that. Okay. And that works out really well for a lot of things. You know, I find myself more and more like looking for the creature comforts of things. So whenever you have something like that, it works out really well in the end, because you can say, okay, this is how we're doing this, and this is how we're doing this. And pre-planning it works out really well. Like I'm getting ready to make a table for the Alex Maker build. So the Alex Maker build is going to be an Alex Maker frame, an Arduino Nano controller running Gerbil 1.1H. And yes, it will fit on the Nanos. And then it'll have 4 separate drivers. What else? It'll have its own laptop computer set up. That's about it. You know, nothing major spectacular with it. It's going to have a endurance laser, 10-watt laser on it with their control box. It's going to be a cool little machine. You know, we're going to upgrade the motors to 140 ounce motors, and we're going to kick that thing around and see what we can do. But at the end of the day, you know, we sit there and say, okay, we're going to do this, and this. So the Alex Maker frame, I can piece them together for about $120 for the framing. I'll spend another $600 on the laser to $800 on the laser. And then from there, control box, I'll probably have, I don't know, I'll probably have somewhere around $200 into the control box. But then after it's all said and done, you know, I don't have to worry about any of it. It's ready to go and everything like that. So whenever I look at this build, I look at the cost of the table. So the machine itself, I've already got, it cost me right around probably $600 with everything. I've got some upgrades on it already and everything. Nothing spectacular, you know, nothing to write home about. But we got these parts, and now I'm looking at this control box build, and I've built a couple of them, so I know it's going to be around $200. So I'm pretty much in the ballpark. But whenever I first did it, I was like, oh, you know, for $100, I can build this thing. And yeah, you could piecemeal it together and salvage wire and this and that, but why do that? You know, why not just do it right the first time and take into account all the different consumables, the wire ferrules, the wire, the capacitors, the resistors, you know, all that stuff. Just take that stuff into account whenever you do it. Today's coffee is, I think it's Folgers Nior Orange. I think a little bit of tart cherry honey mixed with vanilla infused honey, and I put a teaspoon of that in, and I put in a little bit of white mocha creamer just to add a little bit of pizzazz. But so those are some initial costs that are going to drive up cost of the machine, consumables you're not planning on, you know, tables, wires, maybe buttons, you know, play button, pause button, stop button for gerbils, stuff like that. Let's see. We've got a couple people on. We've got Patriots and Truth Seekers. We've got Cousin Kev. We've got Marky Mark. And Mark has a question. What is a good free vector graphic software to use, and what program were you using yesterday? I don't even know what I did yesterday, to be honest. Have a little bit of a memory issue right now. What did I do yesterday? All right. We'll get to that in just a second, Mark. So some other things that can drive consumable costs. Let's see. The vectorizing program was Vinyl Master DSR. It's a vinyl cutting software. So Mark wanted to know what's a good free vector graphic software to use and what program were you using yesterday to vectorize the file. I was using Vinyl Master DSR. So my typical workflow is PNG or JPEG or image or web image, whatever. Then it goes into paint.net to make black and white layers. Then it goes into Vinyl Master for vectorization. And then it goes into either the router program or the, which is VCarve, or the Plasma program, which is Design Edge. And then off to the machine. That's my typical workflow, Mark. My softwares are not cheap. They're definitely not free. Vinyl Master DSR, I want to say that's a $500 or $700 vinyl program, but I use it for a lot of things. Like I've shown you guys how to use it to make colored proofs for a customer. Let's see here. Where is Profire? So here's screen share. Okay, so here's Profire's small sign. So this is designed in my Plasma software. Okay, and that gives me all of my design features that I need. Then I export it as a DXF and I bring it into Vinyl Master DSR and I color code it. So basically, when I bring it in, I do an import. And then I import this. So this is the DXF that I import, and this is how I color it. He wanted to change the arrow. The customer wanted to change the arrow. So that's what I did. Now, whenever you do this, you work from the outside in, solid fill on orange. Let's see here. We've got Profire. Go to colors, solid fill on, white, black, choose fire, go to colors, solid fill on, orange. Now with this, we've got to work from the outside in. So I know that I want that. I know that I want that. And I know that I want that. Colors, solid fill. And we're going to do that in a red. We're going to do that in a black. I got to turn solid fill on, and I've got to bring it to the front like that. There we go. Okay. Turn solid fills on orange, solid fills on black, solid fills on orange. Now we're going to select everything in there, and we're going to bring it to the front. Now we're going to select that. And that. Solid fill on white. Solid fill on black. There you go. That's how you can get a colored proof of sign for your customer using this software, Mark. So to me, it's very useful to actually have that ability, you know, or when I'm modeling something or anything like that. So, but I hope that answers your question, Mark. Go from there. If you have any more questions on it, feel free to ask. I'll address them. So back to the consumables. Each machine to operate has its own set of consumables. My plasma machine has a nozzle, it has an electrode, it has a shield, cap, it has a sensing ring. And those are all components that I typically have to keep on hand. And they run about $5 to $10 individual piece. I usually buy them by the 5s or 10s. I do a lot of 16 gauge cutting, so I do that. I keep those on hand in the 10s, so I have 10 electrodes. My shields, I usually keep 3 to 5 on hand. My nozzles, my retaining rings, stuff like that, I typically only keep 1. So the electrode is the big consumable in my plasma setup. Another consumable in my plasma setup is my grading system. So depending on how much I'm cutting, every 3 to 6 months, I change out my grates. You want to make sure that your grates are set up correctly, and go from there. That's just a definite mainstay. I still have my first grate system to hold my grates on the plasma cam, but whenever I redo it this year, I'm actually going to put it in, level it, and make sure it's level to the machine. Because what I found was whenever I do thick pieces of metal, I have to make sure that I shim them up so that I don't get a taper cut. Because what happened whenever I first put them together, I bolted them together, and well, I didn't bolt them together. I had somebody bolt them together and weld them. And what happened was the weld cracked, so the bolts held it together, but it drooped. And whenever it drooped like that, I lay material on it and I get a tapered cut because the material itself is at an angle now instead of being parallel to the torch. And I've got a bunch of cool little doodads that I've made that I use to actually support material. And I have like a dial indicator that I put on it that I can dial indicate the surface and make sure that it's level. I have a leveling jigs. They're like slide screws. I put them on. It has a pinch setup with a bolt and screw here that bolts into the grate, and then it has a little L bracket with a bolt and a screw, and the bolt is ground to a point, and I basically just thread that up until it levels out the material in reference to the torch. And that helps me take a lot of taper out of any of my my cuts and stuff. So definitely try to minimize that. So those are all consumables. And then locating fixtures and stuff like that are consumables because you may cut through them or anything like that, you know, and just go from there. So on the router, consumables are on the X cars. The router itself is a consumable because it's a DeWalt 611, and those things go through brushes and burn up. I go through one a year easy. The bits, the collets, the spoil board. What else? The bristles on the dust boots. That's pretty much all the consumables for the router. Same for the mills, lathes. They're the tooling. The fixtures could be a consumable. That one's a difficult one because they very well may not be consumables. You know, it all is dependent. The 3D printers, you have your Bowden tube if it has it, you have your hot ends, you have your nozzles, you have the filament, you have adhesives for the glass bed, how the glass bed itself, if you're dragging on it, you know, it becomes a consumable. You shouldn't be, but it happens. Vinyl cutter is the vinyl itself, the roller bearings on the catches, and the blades, and then just the tools to use with it. The 3D scanners don't really have any consumables. I have some add-ons that become consumables, like lighting fixtures and stuff like that. What else? Trying to think. The laser, the lenses are consumables. The laser tube itself, if you have belts, they're consumables. That's about it on that. So these are all things, you know, in my case, you're looking at a shop that has 22 separate machines. Okay. That ebbs and flows on any given day. Literally today, I'm getting rid of 2 machines. So if that goes through, you know, I'll be down to 20. And you know, I've got one guy that wants a router, so I may end up down by the end of the week 17 machines. And But when you look at that, if I take into account my consumable costs on those machines on top of just the electrical use and everything like that, a machine may cost me an extra $100 in a week for consumables. It's one of those things you never really know. And these are the things that, as you become an advanced hobbyist or a semi-professional or even a professional, you can look at stuff and you go, oh, you want me to cut stainless steel? All right, I know I'm going to go through a nozzle. I know I'm going to go through an electrode, and I know I'm going to go through a nozzle. When you're routering, you look at it and you go, oh, I'm going to have to buy the upcut bit instead of the downcut bit, and stuff like that. So as you start pricing this stuff out, you'll start realizing in your head, oh, I'm going to have to price that in. I'm going to have to price that in. And you're just going to become more accustomed to actually quoting it in, or adding it in the quote. Welding, you've got filler rods, you've got tungstens, you've got gas lenses, you've got shielding lenses, you've got cups, you've got different gases, all that different stuff. You've got stick electrodes, you've got MIG wire, you've got MIG nozzles, you've got MIG shields, you've got MIG gas, you've got TIG gas. There's just all kinds of different consumables when you look at this stuff. For powder coating, you've got the nozzle itself, you've got hoses, you've got the powder, you've got hopper inserts. There's a lot of different stuff that goes into this that you don't really have a grasp on until you start doing it. And then once you start doing it, you're like, oh yeah, there's this, and this. And by the time it's said and done, you're like, oh, I've got to make sure that I add in for this, and I need a new hopper diaphragm and things like that. So as you start progressing through, you just sit there and say, okay, this is what we need, this is what we want. What's the price? Okay, it's going to be X, Y, and Z. Then my consumable costs, and then go from there. So I guess at this point, like I said, you guys have to remember also, coffee and cuts is not the end all be all. It's a broad spectrum of things. So I'm just giving you very topical, surface scratching insight into a topic. If you guys have a topic that you want to deep dive into, let's do that. Let's get it done, and then we'll go from there. But I want to show you guys something. I'm pretty proud of this. My wife wanted something. She's been. Hey, Mark, you're not going to get a copy of Vinyl Master or Design Edge. Not unless you buy the machine or buy the software. Hold on one second, guys. Oh, man. Let's see here. Trying to find. There we go. We'll bring this up, share screen. So check this thing out. That's the new CNC for Newbies 4x8 rack and pinion machine running a all together Scrabble. It's a Scrabble board, and then I actually have it down right now with epoxy on it. Let's see here. So, but yeah, that's something that I'm pretty excited about. What do we got coming up? Winter signs. Okay. We're going to do a winter sign tutorial. Let's see what we've got here. Try and set this up right now. We're going to go to screen share. All right. Shrink that in a little. Bring that out. Okay. All right. Let's see what we've got for any signage or anything. We're going to do a Let It Snow. I know that. We're going to do this in a 12 by 5.5 by 0.75 thick, because those are offcuts for some of my other projects. And let's see here. How do we want to do this? We're going to go text. We're going to say, let it. And we're going to go in with Okay, we're going to do that for sure. Now, I've got to find a really nice I like that. I like that, but I don't like the S. So we're going to close that, and we're going to put a text there, capital S. Um, let's see, Autumn Embrace Floral. Okay, there we go. We'll close that. We're going to move that there. We're going to move that there. That looks good. We're going to now take this. We're going to center it. We're going to make that. Let's make the height 2.5. Let's go 1.5. Let's do that at 1.5. Let's unlink that and make that 6. Let's make that 7. All right. Now let's bring a line over to here. All right. Now let's take this down a little bit. Unlink that. Let's take that down to there. Let's turn that into a vector. We'll weld these together. Let's make that let it snow a little bit smaller. Let's go 5.5. Close. We're going to do a box at 12 wide, 5.5 tall. Close that. We're going to offset by 0.5 offset. We're now going to move this down and over, and we're now going to shrink this a little bit more. Okay. And now we've got our Let It Snow. And we're going to go to Google. I'm going to find a snowflake silhouette. I like this one. We're going to save that image to the desktop. And now let's transform this to 3 inches. Let's link that. 3 inches, close. Delete that. We're going to move that. We're going to give ourselves another offset. 0.25. Okay. Bam. Okay. There's that. I don't really like that short area there. So let's give it a rotate. And let's stretch it from there. That looks really good. And that looks like something we can work with. So if it were me, I would probably use a 1/16 a 16th bit or a V bit to make this. And that, my friends, I would dye it with like a navy blue or gray. I'd torch the wood first and then stain it. And that's what I would do. So what I'm going to do is get all this converted. Oh, let's see here. Let's ungroup. Let's convert the text. Let's vector validate 2 intersections. Let's take this, delete that point, delete that point. Okay, we'll vector validate one more time just to verify. Okay, now we're going to make sure all paths are closed, and now we're going to thin that out some. Okay, she is ready for export. We're going to export that as a DXF. We're going to save this as let it snow sign. I'm going to save that, and we are there. So now I can actually open up my DXF. Let me okay. So this is easy. Okay, we'll have to fix that there, and we'll have to fix this here. So let's do brush 0.12. Okay, that needs to come down this way. Like that. So we need to break that, offset it by 0.7. X ZN N X. Delete that. Join that. Let's get in here, clean this up. We'll just take a brush to it. I don't like that. So we're going to zoom in on this. We're going to touch that there. We're going to touch that there. Okay. Zoom in on that. All right. Offset 0.07. Let's copy it, move it down. Brush 0.12. Move that up to about there. Brush 0.12. Let's see here. All right. Clean that up a good bit. Actually, I don't even know why I did that. That was freaking dumb. I'm an idiot. That's a cut line. I don't need to worry about that. But this right here, I do. Okay. So now I go Z, N, N, X, 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 join. Okay. Now I need to figure out how I'm going to do these loops here. Do I want to cut here or here? Or here? So I'm going to have to cut here or here. And I think that I want to go here, offset that by 1.5, extend that out like that. Okay. Go in here. Brush 0.12. That's plenty. Good there. That's good. That's good. I'll probably lose right in here. So I'll go Q. Q center. And now we'll just go in, nip these little pieces. And then we'll go in and nip this. Open those up. And join. There we go. And that, my friends, looks like a good. Okay. Okay. That is a good to go file. You can go through and make that in either plasma or snow sign. You can do that in plasma or in router. So I will make these available. And then I'll do a, what the hell? I'll make these available online for you guys. And then I'll also have it for sale for my Etsy store and go from there. Okay. So that's your show for today. Have a good one.